Welcome to our channel History of Coins, where we explore the hidden gems of numismatics. In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating world of rare 1-cent coins, cause some of these coins are rare among collectors and are worth millions. So today, we are gonna uncover the rarest coins and their values. So make sure to watch the complete video and find out if you have one of these. Now let's continue our today's video. Top 1 today, we're diving deep into one of the most iconic and surprising treasures in American coinage history, the United States 1-cent coin from 1960. That's right, we're talking about a humble penny, but not just any penny. This little coin, often ignored in your change jar, could be holding a massive secret, and if you stick with me until the very end, you'll find out exactly how much this rare piece of copper could be worth. Let's just say it's enough to change your life. Let's take a trip back to the year 1960. The post-war boom was still in full swing, Elvis ruled the radio, and the world was on the brink of massive cultural change. In the midst of all that, the United States Mint quietly released a new batch of 1-cent coins, bearing the familiar face of President Abraham Lincoln. But there was something very different about the pennies that came out that year, and collectors today are going absolutely wild over them. Now you might be asking, what's so special about a 1960 penny? We've all seen hundreds, if not thousands, of Lincoln cents in our lifetimes. But here's where it gets interesting. In 1960, the U.S. Mint produced two main varieties of this coin, one with a large date and one with a small date. That's right, the number 1960 on these coins came in two different styles, and that seemingly small detail would end up creating one of the most sought-after coin types in American numismatic history. Now pay close attention, because this is where things get exciting and potentially very valuable. The small date variety, especially from the Philadelphia Mint, was produced in far fewer quantities than its large date counterpart. To the untrained eye, these differences are barely noticeable. But to a seasoned collector or someone lucky enough to find one in their old coin jar, the value of this small variation can be massive. Even more rarer error coins from this same year. Minting errors are like lightning in a bottle. They occur when something unusual happens during the coin production process. These might include double dies, where the design is struck twice, causing a sort of shadow effect. Or you might find repunched mint marks, where the D for Denver was stamped more than once, creating a unique pattern. These aren't just flaws, they're treasures. Because when a coin with a rare date and a minting error shows up, it becomes a true one-of-a-kind piece. And collectors go absolutely crazy for coins like these. Imagine this. You're sorting through a dusty old coin jar, maybe something passed down from your grandparents. You pick up a penny and look at the date. It's from 1960. Seems normal, right? But then, you notice the date looks a little smaller than usual. Or maybe the mint mark seems off. That little detail could mean the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and a coin worth a fortune. Collectors all over the world dream of finding the perfect 1960 penny. A coin that combines rarity, condition, and a unique error. And when these elements come together, the result can be mind-blowing. Now, let's talk condition. Even with a rare date or an error, a coin's value depends heavily on its condition. Coins that are bright, uncirculated, and have been carefully preserved are always worth more. This is why collectors often keep coins in protective holders or sealed cases, because one tiny scratch can make a big difference in value. But if you happen to own a 1960 penny in pristine condition, especially one with a small date and a rare error, well, you might be sitting on something far more valuable than you ever imagined. So, how much could this seemingly ordinary penny really be worth? Brace yourself, because a rare 1960 Lincoln 1-cent coin, in uncirculated condition, with a rare minting error, has been valued at a staggering $79,000. Yes, you heard that right. One single penny, $79,000. So next time you come across an old penny, don't toss it aside. Take a second look. That little coin might be carrying a big secret. And if you're lucky, it might just be your ticket to a small fortune. Top 2. We're unlocking the mystery behind a coin that almost every American has seen, the 1964 United States 1-cent coin, the good old Lincoln penny. Now, don't be fooled by its humble look. You might think, oh, it's just a regular penny. But what if I told you that one version of this coin, with the right details and in the right condition, could be worth more than a brand new luxury car? Maybe even more than a down payment on a house. Sounds unbelievable? Stick with me to the end, and I promise, your perspective on pennies will never be the same. Let's rewind the clock to the year 1964. The Beatles had just landed in America, the Civil Rights Act had been signed, and the world was rapidly changing. Amid all this, the U.S. Mint continued to do what it had always done, striking coins. But in 1964, something interesting happened. The demand for small change exploded. People were hoarding silver coins, and the mint had to act fast to keep coins in circulation. That meant massive production of the 1-cent coin. And that's where our story begins. On the surface, the 1964 Lincoln penny doesn't look much different from the ones you carry in your pocket today. It features the profile of Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design by Victor D. Brenner that's been in use since 1909, and the Lincoln Memorial on the back, a design introduced just a few years earlier in 1959. But not all 1964 pennies are created equal. While most were struck in Philadelphia and Denver and made of a copper alloy, a few slipped through the cracks with rare minting errors, the kind that make collectors' hearts race. And this is where things get really interesting. There are three major types of 1964 penny errors that collectors are always searching for. First, the double die error. This occurs when the coin die itself is struck twice with a slight misalignment. The result? A beautiful and dramatic doubling effect, most noticeable on the date and the word Liberty. These double die pennies are not just cool to look at, they're incredibly valuable because they're so rare. Second, we have the repunched mint mark, most commonly seen on coins struck at the Denver Mint. A repunched mint mark happens when the letter D for Denver is stamped more than once in a slightly different position. This was due to older hand-punching methods that weren't always exact. These repunched marks create a kind of ghost effect that collectors love because it's visible to the naked eye and proves a unique minting story. And finally, there are the off-center strikes. This error happens when the coin isn't properly aligned during striking, leading to part of the design being cut off. The more off-center the coin is, without losing the date, the rarer and more valuable it becomes. Now imagine this. A 1964 Lincoln penny with one of these rare errors. Maybe it has a double date, or a repunched mint mark, or even a dramatic off-center strike. And better yet, it's been sitting untouched for decades, still in mint condition. That's the dream for coin collectors. Because finding a penny like that isn't just lucky, it's like striking gold in copper form. But let's talk condition for a second. Even with a rare error, the value of a coin hinges heavily on its grade, or how well it's been preserved over time. Coins that are uncirculated, shiny, and show no signs of wear are in what's called mint state, and that can make all the difference. A penny that's been sitting in someone's drawer, protected and untouched since the 1960s, can be worth exponentially more than one that's been clinking around in pockets and purses for decades. So if you ever come across a 1964 penny, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look at the date. Inspect the mint mark. Look for doubling. If something looks a little off, you might just have stumbled onto a small copper coin that's worth more than anyone could guess. Now, here's the moment you've been waiting for, the value reveal. A rare 1964 1-cent coin, featuring a prominent error and preserved in top condition, has been sold for an astonishing total of $76,000. Yes, $76,000. For a single penny. Just think about that for a second. That tiny coin that might be hiding in a shoebox, in an old jar, or tucked away in a dusty attic could be worth more than what most people make in a year. And all because of a few tiny details that most people overlook. So what are you waiting for? Go check your coin collection, dig through that old change drawer, and inspect every 1964 penny you can find. Who knows? You might just be holding a hidden treasure worth tens of thousands of dollars. Top 3, we're diving into the surprising story of a coin you've probably seen countless times, but one that just might hold a secret far more valuable than anyone could guess. We're talking about the 1980 United States 1-cent coin. The classic Lincoln penny. At first glance, it looks like just another copper-colored coin you'd find lying in your couch cushions or rolling around in your car's cup holder. But what if I told you that one of these everyday coins could be worth more than your entire car? Maybe even more than your college tuition. You're not going to want to miss this one. Let's rewind to 1980. America was riding the wave of change, the disco era was fading, personal computers were starting to make their way into homes, and inflation had become a serious concern. In the middle of this economic shift, the U.S. Mint continued its work as always, producing billions of coins to keep the economy moving. Among these coins was the 1-cent piece, featuring the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the front, a design that had already been in use for over 70 years. On the reverse, you'd find the Lincoln Memorial, an iconic image introduced in 1959 to honor the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Now, you might be thinking, what could possibly make a 1980 penny special? After all, the mint produced hundreds of millions of these coins. And you're absolutely right. Most 1980 pennies are common and only worth a cent or two. But there's a twist, because hidden among the masses are a few extremely rare and valuable coins that collectors are desperate to find. So what makes them valuable? Let's talk about mint errors, the golden ticket in the world of coin collecting. These are mistakes made during the minting process that result in unique and often visually striking coins. And the 1980 penny has its share of fascinating errors. Point one of the most desirable is the double die error, where the coin design is struck twice, but not perfectly aligned. This creates a ghost-like doubling effect, most noticeable in the date, the word liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." These coins were never meant to leave the mint, but a few slipped out unnoticed, and today they're incredibly rare. Another major error to watch for is the off-center strike. This happens when the coin blank isn't properly aligned during minting. The result? Part of the design is missing, and the coin looks dramatically off balance. The more off-center the strike, while still showing the full date, the more valuable the coin becomes. Then there's the broad strike error, which occurs when a coin is struck without the collar that normally shapes its edges. These coins come out wider and flatter than usual, and because they don't have the standard ridged edge, they stand out immediately. And let's not forget about repunched mint marks, especially from the Denver Mint. In 1980, the D mint mark on Denver-struck coins was still being hand-punched into the die, meaning it was prone to slight mistakes. Sometimes, the punch was made more than once, leaving behind a visible shadow or doubling effect that collectors love. Now here's where it gets exciting, because if you happen to find a 1980 penny with one of these errors, and it's in mint state condition, you could be holding something far more valuable than just 1 cent. But what exactly is mint state? It refers to coins that have never been used in circulation. No scratches, no fingerprints, no signs of wear. A mint state coin looks just as fresh as the day it left the US Mint. Combine mint condition with a rare error, and you've got something truly extraordinary. Imagine it, a coin that's been hiding in an old piggy bank or tucked away in a drawer for decades. Maybe it's been sitting in a plastic sleeve since 1980, forgotten and untouched. And now, it's finally being rediscovered. That 1 cent coin could be worth a fortune. So how much are we really talking about? What kind of value can a single 1980 penny hold if it checks all the boxes: rare error, excellent condition, and high collector demand? Well, brace yourself, because a 1980 Lincoln penny with the right combination of rarity and quality has been valued at a jaw-dropping total of $73,000. Yes, you heard that right, $73,000, and it's still just 1 penny. A coin you might already have. A coin that could be sitting quietly in a forgotten coin roll or inside your grandfather's old collection. So don't overlook those 1980 pennies. Look closely at the date. Examine the mint mark. Watch for signs of doubling or misalignment. That small detail could mean the difference between a common coin and an incredibly valuable treasure. Top 4, we're going to uncover the mystery behind a coin that nearly every American has seen or held at some point, but only a few have truly looked at closely. Yes, we're talking about the United States 1 cent coin from the year 1979. At first glance, it might seem like just another Lincoln penny, small, copper, maybe even a little dirty. But if you pay attention to a few specific details, this tiny coin could be worth far more than you ever imagined. So don't blink, because what we're about to reveal could turn 1 cent into an absolute fortune. Let's set the stage. It's 1979. The disco era is still hanging on, gas prices are high, and inflation is hitting hard. While the economy was shifting, the US Mint was hard at work, producing coins for everyday use, including hundreds of millions of 1 cent coins. These pennies continued the long-standing tradition of featuring the profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the front and the iconic Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. It's the design we all know so well. But sometimes, even the most familiar things can hide the biggest secrets. Here's where the real excitement begins. Although most of the 1979 pennies were struck correctly and used in everyday transactions, a few rare and special versions slipped through the cracks. Versions that are now worth big money to collectors. These coins are so valuable not because of what they are, but because of what went wrong during the minting process. And in the world of numismatics, that's the study and collection of coins, mistakes can be worth a whole lot more than perfection. Let's start with one of the most famous and desirable coin errors, the double die. This happens when a coin is struck twice by the same die, but slightly misaligned. You'll see it most clearly in the lettering. Words like liberty or in God we trust will appear to have a ghost-like shadow or doubling effect. The date, too, can show visible duplication. These coins were never intended to leave the mint, but some did. And they're now among the most prized finds for any coin collector. Next up is the repunched mint mark, often referred to as RPM. Back in 1979, mint marks, the tiny letters indicating where the coin was made, were still applied by hand. Sometimes, the mint worker would accidentally stamp the mark slightly off-center, then stamp it again to correct it. This left behind a faint second impression. It's a small detail, but to a trained eye, it's unmistakable and incredibly valuable. Another error that drives collectors wild is the off-center strike. This occurs when the blank coin isn't properly aligned with the die. The result? A coin that looks oddly cut or missing part of the design. The more off-center the coin is, while still showing the full date, the more desirable it becomes. Combine that with a pristine condition, and you've got a true rarity. There's also the broad strike error, where the coin is struck without the restraining collar that normally shapes its edges. These coins appear larger and flatter, often with a soft, rounded rim. It's another dramatic-looking error that's instantly recognizable to coin enthusiasts. And speaking of condition, let's talk about mint state. This refers to a coin that has never been used in circulation. No scratches, no smudges, no dullness from handling. A mint state 1979 penny with a rare error can be dramatically more valuable than one that's been tossed in a drawer or passed from hand to hand over the decades. So imagine this. You're going through an old jar of coins that's been sitting in your garage since your grandparents' time. You pull out a few pennies from the late 70s. You squint at the date, 1979. Then something catches your eye. Maybe the lettering looks strange. Maybe the mint mark isn't quite right. Maybe the coin looks off-center or larger than normal. And suddenly, you realize you could be holding something extraordinary. And now the moment you've been waiting for. The value reveal. One of these rare 1979 1-cent coins, featuring a dramatic minting error and preserved in immaculate, uncirculated condition, has been valued at an incredible total of $70,000. Yes, you heard that right. $70,000. The next time you're counting pennies or digging through a coin collection, don't rush. Take your time. Look carefully. That tiny copper coin from 1979 might be far more than just change. It could be a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. Top 5. We're cracking open one of the most fascinating mysteries in modern American coinage, a small copper-colored coin that might be hiding in your collection right now. Yes, we're talking about the 1982 United States 1-cent coin, the Lincoln penny. At first glance, it might look like just another ordinary cent, the kind that ends up lost under couch cushions or buried in parking lots. But don't let its appearance fool you. Because in the world of coin collecting, the 1982 penny is anything but ordinary. In fact, one of these seemingly simple coins has been sold for a jaw-dropping amount, and we're going to tell you exactly why. So sit back, listen closely, and keep your eyes on your own coin stash. You just might be holding something worth a small fortune. Let's rewind to 1982, the year of big hair, boomboxes, and blockbuster movies. The U.S. economy was going through some serious changes, and one of the things affected was the cost of producing coins. The U.S. Mint had a problem. The price of copper was rising fast. At one point, it actually cost more than 1 cent to make a single penny. So in response, 1982 became a landmark year for American coinage. The Mint made a huge decision. They were going to change the metal composition of the penny. And they did it right in the middle of the year. That's right. 1982 was the year the United States transitioned from pennies made of 95% copper to pennies made of 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. This change sounds simple, but what it created was a year full of variety, and variety, in the world of coin collecting, means opportunity. Now here's where it gets exciting. Because of the transition, the U.S. Mint ended up producing 7 different types of 1-cent coins in 1982. There were copper coins and zinc coins, large dates and small dates, and they came from both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. That means collectors now had to pay close attention to weight, design, and detail, because the differences between these coins could be worth thousands. Let's break it down a bit. The copper pennies from early 1982 weigh about 3.11 grams. while the zinc pennies that came later in the year weigh only about 2.5 grams. So even though they look the same, they feel just a little different on a scale. And this small change has had massive implications for collectors. Then there's the large date versus small date varieties, subtle changes in the size and shape of the numbers and the date on the coin. Most people would never notice the difference, but to a trained collector's eye, it's huge. Some varieties are far more rare than others, and finding the right one in great condition? That's the kind of thing that gets people seriously excited. But that's not all. What makes the 1982 penny truly legendary is the possibility of error coins rare. Unintentional mistakes that slipped past quality control and made it into circulation point. One of the most famous errors from 1982 is a copper small date penny from the Denver Mint. Why is this special? Because according to official mint records, this coin shouldn't exist. The Denver Mint was supposed to have struck only zinc pennies with the small date design. But somehow, a few copper blanks were used, and only a tiny number of these coins have ever been discovered. When they show up, they instantly become holy grails for collectors. Other potential errors include off-center strikes, double dies, or transitional planchet mistakes, where the wrong metal blank was used. These kinds of errors are incredibly valuable because they're unique, unintentional, and tell the fascinating story of what happens when machinery and history collide. Now, let's talk about condition, because even the rarest coin loses value if it's worn down. That's why collectors place such a premium on coins that are in mint state condition, meaning they've never been used in circulation, have sharp details, and a brilliant finish. Combine a rare variety with a flawless condition, and you've got a coin that could make serious headlines in the world of numismatics. Imagine this for a moment. You're going through your old coin jar, flipping through a pile of pennies. You see one from 1982. You notice the small date. You weigh it on a small scale, and it comes in at over 3 grams. It's copper. Then you see that tiny, deep mint mark beneath the date. That coin in your hand? It might just be one of the rarest and most valuable modern coins in existence. So how much could one of these rare and valuable 1982 pennies be worth? A genuine small-date copper penny from 1982, struck at the Denver Mint, in mint state condition and authenticated as genuine, has been sold for an incredible sum of $67,000. Yes, $67,000. Not bad for a coin that started out worth just 1 cent. So before you toss your pennies into the change machine, take a moment. Check the date. Look at the mint mark. Maybe even weigh it. Because one of those little coins might be more than just change. It could be a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you never miss another rare coin discovery. We've got so many more amazing stories to share, and who knows, the next valuable coin might already be in your pocket. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy hunting, and may your next penny be worth its weight in gold or more.